Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart Anderson, and this is my project for emerging technologies in policy and law. The emerging technology that I chose at the beginning of the semester is virtual assets. Some examples of this include, but are not limited to, Bitcoin, NFTs, or metaverse assets. Today, my topic is mainly going to be focusing on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Some of the social impacts of my emerging technology from a utopian viewpoint are going to be financial empowerment. It only requires a smartphone to get started dealing with any kind of virtual asset and specifically cryptocurrencies. Additionally, it gives a lot of power to individuals. You don't have to deal with a predatory bank or a corporation or anything like that. The second point from a utopian viewpoint is going to be uniformity. You would no longer have to deal with an uneven exchange rate like you would with the US dollar if you were to travel somewhere else. From a dystopian viewpoint, there's a potential that this could widen the gap between the wealthy and the poor individuals, both in our country and others. As I previously mentioned, right now it requires technology in order to acquire and trade these assets. And so if you don't have access to that, you wouldn't have access to this form of currency or asset. Additionally, there's loss of a potential for loss of consumer protection. There's no recourse if you're hacked or scammed, since it's not tracked and or backed like a bank. For instance, if somebody were to hack your credit card or your bank account. Additionally, there are some environmental concerns. Specifically with crypto, you have to mine it with your computer, which takes a lot of processing power and a lot of energy, which can increase carbon emissions if that's something that you're concerned about. As far as pacing problems, one of the biggest ones is going to be that this isn't widely accepted as a form of currency yet, and we don't know exactly who and if the ball will ever get rolling on that. And then furthering that, the everyday use of this emerging technology is kind of has a limit at this moment in time. We've seen in the last couple of years that certain people have allowed for large purchases, such as Tesla, have allowed people to use cryptocurrency or other virtual assets to purchase their product. But as far as everyday use, we haven't seen yet. You aren't able to go to a grocery store and purchase your weekly groceries. And this is because there's no way to use or transfer instantly. And then additionally, the value of these assets are going to be unstable since they don't have a finite value to them. One of the biggest risks and uncertainty of this emerging technology as it stands is that they have fluctuation in value. At this moment, it's almost looked at more like a stock or a bet, as these values can change from day to day, month to month, year to year. Additionally, you run into the issue with Bitcoin specifically of maybe there's an altcoin or another form of cryptocurrency that will eventually come out that would supersede Bitcoin, which could be an issue. And then obviously the question that everybody keeps asking is, will it ever be widely accepted? And we just don't know at this moment in time. As far as regulatory framework, so who regulates things like Bitcoin or these digital assets? So the SEC regulates digital assets that qualify as securities, but Bitcoin itself at this moment is not classified as a security. However, they are subject to SEC scrutiny. So, I mean, it's kind of up in the air with who's going to regulate these things. The IRS treats Bitcoin as property, so not actually as currency. And it would be subject to capital gains and things like that if you've taken any classes that deal with stuff with capital gains. However, some states are pushing for legislation. We've seen in California and New York that they've submitted potential legislation, but nothing has been enacted as of this point. Other areas of law that could control this emerging technology, first and foremost, you have the Commerce Clause within constitutional law. Bitcoin, the idea is for it to be global and borderless. And so the issue that would pop up is while the US government might be able to control it eventually within the borders, what happens whenever you transfer these internationally? Does the US government have the authority to regulate this, or would it be a violation of international economic freedom? And we just don't have anything at the moment that's controlling that would suggest one way or the other. Additionally, one of the biggest perks for cryptocurrency or virtual assets is privacy, is that it's not, as previously mentioned, not regulated by a bank or a corporation. And are individuals going to be able to retain that, from the government being able to reach in and regulate your activities with these assets? And then not nearly enough time to get into this, but obviously with NFTs or anything like that, you would run into the issues involving intellectual property, such as copyright or trademark. If individuals are selling products that use trademark issues, that could be a problem. But as of right now, there really isn't a whole lot of enforcement, as this is a new area of transactions, and there really isn't anything codified, since law tends to be reactive and not proactive. In conclusion, digital assets are a growing trend among many individuals, corporations, and even governments around the world. There are still plenty of issues to consider. As I mentioned, the regulatory system is pretty underdeveloped, and acceptance outside of a property classification of these assets. While it remains uncertain as to how far this technology is going to extend to our everyday life, there's considerable force for these types of transactions and currencies to be implemented into our global, national, and even local economy. Thank you.